What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Money Is Show. This week we have a unique guest. His name's Ryan Lee, right here from Utah. I rarely get to interview people from Utah, but today I get a special opportunity to do that. Ryan Lee is CEO of Cashflow Tactics. They've done over 25 single-family homes in their career. They provide about 50 single-family homes per month to entrepreneurs, to high successful W-2 professionals just like you right now. The whole point of it is just understanding, you guys know I love this topic, about understanding what's wrong with our retirement system, what's wrong with the 401k process, why it doesn't freaking work, and Ryan provides the education, knowledge, as well as the assets to beat that old broken system that I absolutely hate. So on that note, we're going to talk about Ryan Lee, CEO of Cashflow Tactics today. Ryan, thanks for coming on the show.
Oh man, it's such an honor, such a pleasure to be here with you today. I'm excited to be with your viewers. I'm excited to have a conversation with you today. I'm excited to go deep on the topic of money.
It's fun because, you know, obviously do the Money Is Show, but not every business owner that comes on the show is deeply even knowledge per se about money. So I don't talk necessarily the whole show about money all the time. I think you're a guy that can actually jam back and forth on the topic of money a lot deeper from everything else. But I want to go back to, let me start from the beginning a little bit of what made you as an entrepreneur, what made you get into helping other entrepreneurs as well as W-2 people on this process? Like what birthed that idea or that vision there?
Man, honestly, you know, for me, it started really early on. I've always been entrepreneurial. I was the kid in school hustling my Capri Suns, you know, for all kinds of different things. And, you know, for me, I don't know, like I kind of messed up in high school. My dad called me a knucklehead. I dropped out of high school. But when I got my life back on track, you know, I knew, like without ever questioning it, that you go to school, you get a job, and you do the thing that you're supposed to do, right? Work hard and save money and all that stuff. And I'll never forget when I graduated college, I got that first paycheck, right? And I remember sitting on the stairway going into the bank back in the day when they gave you the check in the envelope, opened it up. And man, after I looked at that, all of the taxes and deductions and things that came out, I mean, I had to move my family from Utah to Arizona. And I remember looking at that paycheck, and what should have been validating was the exact opposite. Like I remember that alarm in the back of my head, I should just quit now. But again, for me, it was kind of that social conditioning.
You had that like Jennifer Aniston moment on Friends where it's like, who's FICA?
No.
Why are they taking all my money?
Why is FICA taking all my money?
Why am I paying FICA? Yeah, you had that epiphany when that first happened.
At least it sounded the alarm, right? And I remember, you know, kind of looking back over it now, I quieted that alarm, and my really what I committed to do is just climb the corporate ladder as fast as I could. And I remember over the next 4 or 5 years, you know, I got promotion after promotion after promotion. I moved from state to state. I took over bigger geographies, bigger territories. And I remember I crested the magical mark of $100,000 in my 401k. And I thought at some level I was successful, right? But what was really happening with every promotion, it was kind of like it came with strings attached, right? I was disconnected from my family. I found myself not being a very good husband. In fact, I wasn't even living in the same state as my family because it just required so much travel in bigger geographies. And so, you know, this was cresting, moving right into 2008, and everyone knows what happened in 2008. For me, you know, I just lost all my money. And it kind of started opening up my eyes and questioning the reality that I was in a lot sooner rather than, you know, waiting for one day. And the crazy part about it was, as I talked to people that I was admiring in the corporate world, I realized they were doing the same thing I was doing. Their view of retirement just melted in front of their face, and I was following their path thinking I was gonna get what I wanted faster and better. I realized I had no control, and I realized I was repeating a broken system in my own life expecting a different result. And that opened me up to questioning the system that I was in and kind of going back to that internal voice of, look, maybe I am entrepreneurial, maybe I can take control of my life, maybe I can solve my own problems, and maybe I can find a way out of this mess that I'm in. And so for the next couple of years, man, I started going and following all of the original greats. I mean, Robert Allen, Robert Kiyosaki, reading all these books, and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's a whole nother world out there that I wasn't ever trained on. In fact, I thought it was risky, but the biggest risk of all is what I'm doing right now. And so that's kind of what opened me up to the idea of, look, rather than working until I'm 65 and trying to figure out my life one day, why don't I take control of it right now?
Yeah, if you take a step back and look at society as a whole, right, which is brings into the point of what is the 401k in general, like why was it created, and what is the purpose of it? If you start asking some of those questions and then go actually just doing research, it's going to open your eyes up to a massive world. But what happens is for the most amount of people, it's just what they were told to go do.
Yep.
And so this is the plan, and so this is what I'm gonna go do. And look, I can make it really simple for you. Just follow this one back. The plan that you were told, you, me, other people as well, when it comes to, I'm gonna specifically go into this like retirement 401k process that was shoved down our throats. It's like, let me ask you this very simple question. Who told you that was the right plan? And most of the time, after all the speaking I've done, it's a family member, a close friend of the family. Maybe you didn't come from a close family, but it was a friend of the family. I was like, hey, you got to go get a good job. You got to go get, and then save up your money into a 401k and retirement. Okay, now, so if we understand the point that the majority of people that are doing that plan, that advice was told to them by a family member / friend of the family. All right, I just want to ask one more question. That family member that told you that advice.
Yeah.
Would you consider that family member a wealthy person or a paycheck by paycheck person?
And dude, that right there, it's so powerful. When
I
you
can
just
stop the
peel that
conversation.
layer down and go one level deeper than that, you realize that you're following someone that doesn't have the results that you want, but yet you're applying the exact same strategy. It's
and
crazy.
my dad told me the same advice. I'm not saying by any means, I come from a very close family, that my dad was trying to give me bad advice.
Yeah.
My dad was giving me the best advice that he had.
That's all he had.
This is all that he had. He said, son, this is what I know.
Yeah.
And this is what I think you should go do. It wasn't that he was trying to hurt me or give me bad advice by any stretch. He was trying to help me. But when you take a step back and say, okay, but the person that I'm getting this financial advice from, do I say that they're a wealthy, successful person, or are they actually more of a paycheck by paycheck, kind of middle of the class, really broke? And 99% of the time, that's who it came from.
That's exactly what it is.
So from that point alone, I could go into a lot of other stuff, explaining how the 401k was created and where it came from, and it used to be pension plans that they had before that. But I can go to all the history of it. I have, unfortunately or fortunately, have done deep dives into this process. But we can stop right there, because it's like, you cannot create wealth by getting advice and following the process from an unwealthy person.
Totally.
That is not how that works.
Totally.
That is not how that works.
Well, and even the founder, even the originator, John Bogle, who created the 401k, regrets it because of the insidious lies that it's been perpetuated to do now, and it's trapping everyone.
When they first was started, they kind of nicknamed it the Christmas bonus account, if you will. And that was because back in the day, when it was originally created, jobs would, if you worked all the way through the year, at the end of the year, they give you a Christmas bonus. And a long time ago in the 50s and 60s, it was a big deal. Yeah. Like, Christmas bonuses were a large check. It wasn't like now it's like, here's a frozen turkey at Christmas bonus. Yeah. But back in the day, and there's still some, but back in the day, this was what a lot of people was working for, was a Christmas bonus. And they give this check of $25,000, $50,000, $75,000 to a person. And they came with this idea of like, well, instead of me giving it to you, why don't you put it back into this account that is, you can defer your taxes on it, and you can make money with it in the future. That it kind of got nicknamed, that they refer to as the Christmas bonus account. But I'm gonna go, I can break this down all day long, dude. That's why I love talking about money. If you look into why that was happening, it was the way that they could give the money to what I refer to as the contributor.
Right.
When they gave him money, they could give the money to the contributor, and the contributor would give it right back.
Yep.
Right back to, in the game of money, if you ever heard me I talk about it, the contributors and the creators. And it's not a right or wrong, good or bad, evil or wrong. It's not that. It's just, there's two different teams in the game of money, contributors and creators. Creators are always getting the money. Mm-hmm. If you look at from the contributor side, the contributors are always getting the money to the creator side. It's always happening, right? And I can easily start proving it out. When you get your first paycheck, and you get your paycheck, and every month you get your paycheck, what's the first thing that people normally start paying?
Bills.
And what's the first bill they normally pay?
Mortgage. Yeah.
Rent or mortgage, okay? Simple question. Who do you think owns the majority of all those mortgages, those houses, that debt on that house? Contributors or creators?
That's always the creators.
Creators do.
Right.
So what's happening is the creators give you a paycheck, that you're working for a creator. The creator gives you a paycheck of X for your services. You then immediately start providing it back to creators. Creators own the houses and the mortgages, then you pay your car payment. Then you pay cell phone bills. Yeah. Then you pay groceries. Who owns the grocery stores? Poor people or wealthy people? Then you buy clothes with them. I mean, all the money's getting transferred always back to this side over here, including what you believe is your investment account, which is where you invest at, called your 401k.
Well, and that's the scariest part too, is not only is your money going out of your control. I mean, we were talking about this before we even got on the show. Like, no one really wants the money in a 401k. That's not what they want. They want the dreams that are attached to that thing. And so you're giving that money back, right? And all of your dreams are now outside of you. They're attached to this, future-based outcome that you have no control over. And that's kind of what I was learning in that path is, man, I didn't control my environment. I was following all of the people that I didn't want the results they were getting, but yet I'm doing the same thing. And then when I started looking at it, most strategies out there were the same thing, just done a little bit different. But then there was this whole other world of alternative investing that wasn't just average done better.
Yeah.
It was the exact opposite. And that's what pulled me out of this daze and this funk to say, look, I'm not going to just try to do average things better. I'm going to try to do the exact opposites.
I'm going to hit one more point because I want to go through the alternative investment style for a second. But I'm going to hit one more point on why I think the 401k is a giant piece of crap.
I love that.
Go back to 2008, right? Mm-hmm. And I remember my dad in 2008, he's worked his entire life. At that point, I don't know, he was 30 years into working and putting money aside. And in 2008, the crash happened, right? And everybody calls it a real estate crash, right? And I'm not here to argue that point or not, right? But everybody calls it a real estate crash. Now, a unique thing is taking place is that all of our money managers, all the financial advisors that were advising this level of customer base, if you will, one of the words that they absolutely love to use is a word called diversification. Yeah. They love that freaking word.
Yep.
And the reason I believe that they love that word is because it's actually what they're selling you is fear.
Yep.
That's what they're selling you. Because you're afraid, especially if you look back, and again, you study history, when all this was coming through, you look back and look at Great Depression, you look at World War II, that the men and women who came out of that was growing up in that, they were terrified of losing their money. Terrified of losing their money. And so what happens is this financial advisor, which, pause, that to me is if I could change anything in the financial world, anything, if you said you got one thing to change, I would probably say I want it to be illegal for financial advisors at Edward Jones, Vanguard, Fidelity, et cetera. And I'm for all those companies. I'm not against them. I want it to be illegal for them to call themselves financial advisors.
Yeah.
I want your title to be financial salesman.
Yep, totally, because that's exactly what they are.
That's what you are.
And dude, that's exactly how they're
trained.
You are. They have a menu of things that they can sell.
To the T.
We call them, inside of what we do with education, we call them goldfish advisors, because there's that analogy of the two younger goldfish, and then they get dropped into a bowl, and there's an older goldfish, right? And as the younger goldfish swim by the older goldfish, who knows he's in a goldfish bowl swimming in water, the fish swim by and says, "Morning." The older goldfish says, "Morning, boys, how's the water?" Mm-hmm. And the two younger goldfish get this confused look on their face, and they turn around and they say, "What the hell's water?" And that's our opinion of goldfish advisors, is they're swimming in the bowl of goldfish average advice, and everything to them is a mutual fund, it's diversification. If you want to do real estate, there's a REIT for that. It's just this idea of everything fits into a Wall Street strategy. And they don't even know they're swimming in that bowl. And so you've got to jump out of that bowl. You've got to jump out of that bowl so you can see into it and say, look, I don't want average results, because that's all diversification is. It's protection against ignorance. It's protection against average. That's all it is.
And not protection against ignorance against the person, the investor. What they're trying to say is that it's protection against the market.
Yeah.
It's protection, diversification. And so they're using it as a sales tactic because of fear. And they're using, oh, don't worry, we have diversification. You put this portfolio, here's this freaking pie chart, and you diversify over here. Let me just pause. Just hear me out.
Here we go.
If that was true, if what they were selling was true, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a lower interest rate, right? Less risk. And I'm going to take a lower profit margin that I will actually, there's some dreams I'm going to have to let go, because if I take this diversified route because I don't want to lose my money that you're selling me, then I'm not going to be able to reach all these dreams that I actually want. But I can diversify it for you, and it won't be as bad, but you're going to take a lower interest rate. And okay, so if that's what's sold to me, and I'm going to buy that as, okay, I'm going to take this path, and I'm not going to make as much, but I will be diversified against bad times that come. I simply have one. If that was effing true, I just have one question. What happened to the 401k market in 2008?
It got wiped out. I mean, it destroyed.
If what they were selling was true diversification,
would it have got destroyed?
That was the very moment that they should be running around saying, we did it.
Yeah.
All you other people are screwed.
Yeah.
But those customers that stay with me and you diversified, look what you're at right now. And they didn't. You know the average loss of the 401k in 2008? 52%.
Oh, yeah.
50.
I lost 80%.
2%.
I went from 100 to 28,000.
I saw my dad lose 50% of 30 years.
Well, and see, that's the crazy
30 years he worked, and he wiped it out.
Yeah.
In 2000, you wiped out 50% of it. He doesn't have time to now go back.
Yep.
And do it for 30 more years.
Well, and that's the whole lie of diversification that I had to learn the hard way. I
100%.
saw these people in their 50s, right?
Yep.
And their view, everything they had worked for, everything they had sacrificed for. I mean, I wasn't even living in the same state as my family, and these guys were doing the same thing, right? But that mirage, now that goalpost just got pushed out. Well, maybe I don't retire at 65, maybe at 70, maybe at 75, maybe I'll work a little bit harder. And it's just this idea that you're deferring your greatest hopes, your greatest dreams, ambitions for
what
one day.
What you really want to do.
You really want to do them.
The stuff that you really want to do.
Yeah.
You're just like, okay, but I'm gonna defer it in the future.
Yeah.
And you don't even know if the future even is gonna come for you, bro.
No doubt.
Like
no
you don't
doubt.
even know it's gonna show up. Think about this one. I thought about this for a long time. What about the people, Ryan, that had played the game for 40 plus years?
Yep.
They were 64 years old.
Yep.
And in 2007.
Yep.
2008 hits, and they're like, okay, well, I've got a couple $100,000 in here. I'm gonna cash it out. I'm gonna pay my house off with my money, so I don't have the house payment. I'm gonna pay my little car off, and I'm gonna keep this car until I pass away, and I'm gonna have this extra money that I can live off of. And in 2000, they turned 65 and lost half of everything they worked for. What is that person supposed to do?
Yeah.
What is his options now?
They're stuck. They're reliant. They're hoping Social Security is going to save them. I mean, it's just this whole game.
Gosh, dude.
And it's so, and like when you go down that rabbit hole, you see who's winning. You see the deceit. You see the lies. You see the dependency.
Yeah.
And man, I couldn't live my life that way. I couldn't do it.
Oh, it's frustrating, man.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time on it. So on that note, I'm going to stop and I'm going to get off the train of bashing.
I love the soapbox, man. There's not very many people that get up on that soapbox.
Oh yeah,
I
will pound that drum, dude. I got a lot more to say, but I'll pause it for there. Let's talk about the what you guys actually do now, which is offer different types of investment opportunities and vehicles for whether you have a W-2, a job, or you don't have to be an entrepreneur. And I think it's a piece a lot of people miss on.
Yeah.
They feel like, well, I can't do that because I'm not an entrepreneur. I have to do this thing right here, and that's actually not true at all.
Well, see, here's whether entrepreneur, W-2, or anything. If you want to win in life, like the number one thing that holds so many people back is money. It was what was holding me back. I had dreams and ambitions, but I had bills. I had family. I had to put food on the table, and I couldn't chase those ambitions and those dreams, at least I told myself, until I was able to be secure enough to provide for my family and provide for myself. And so the first thing I had to do is I had to take control over my money. I was earning it. I was going to work. I was doing all the things that were required to get that paycheck, right? But then I was taking the money and giving it all away, just like you said. And so, you can see it on my shirt. And I didn't call it this back then, but I had to take control. I had to understand how money worked. I had to understand that my greatest investment was to go out and create value and make money, but then I couldn't just give it away to someone else, a 401k, hoping that they had my best interest in mind. I had to take control. I had to keep the money I was making, and I had to turn it into cash flow. And that was the game that I started to play. That was the mentors, the books that I was reading. I realized that those who were wealthy, they didn't just do average things better. They didn't diversify better than I was diversified. They did the exact opposite. And so that was the game that I started to play.
I'm going to tee off on a word you just said. Everything you said is true. And we're going to tee off on something you just said. And this is where I think people miss it sometimes with all the training and speaking that I've done, is that you have these two different worlds, right? Game, if you will. Again, we'll go back to my example of contributors and creators. Not right or wrong, but just two different games of money. And what happens a lot of times is a contributor has in their head that, well, the wealthy are doing the same game. They're just, like you said, they're doing a little bit different investment, or they invest in this. That is not true. That is not what's happening, okay? But it's kind of what's in their contributor's head is that everybody is playing the same game. Again, not true at all. The wealthier, I promise you, the wealthy are not doing what you're doing in that 401k. I guarantee you they're not doing it. But the point that you actually made that I want to tee off on was, you made the phrase, which is so true, you said, they are actually doing the exact opposite.
Yeah.
Okay. And what happens to a lot of contributors as they try to make changes, and they're like, oh, wait a second, I see this, I should do something different. They get in this in-between gray area world where it's like, well, I'm gonna keep this, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna put my foot over on this side a little bit, and it doesn't work that way. It's not that the wealthy are doing something similar to you, or the wealthy are just doing, well, they had a different advisor than you. Nope, they're doing the exact opposite.
Yeah.
So if you want to create wealth, it's not doing more of what you're currently doing.
No.
That's what people think.
100%.
I gotta work, if I work more and if I can save an extra $25 a week in my 401k for the next 48 years, it's like, bro, that is not the solution. The solution is doing the exact opposite. Again, if you wanna compare wealthy, non-wealthy, how the wealthy did it and then how the non-wealthy do it, you will find it's the exact opposite.
It totally is. And that was what I mean, honestly, and that was what I was grateful for, is I had this drive, I had this fire inside of me. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. But I was told that was wrong. I was told that was risky. I was told that you'd follow the system, right? And
risk is losing 52% of your 401k after 35 years.
100%.
That's risk.
That was risk.
Not
right there.
you going out on your own and trying something.
And look, here was the thing that put like the needle, or the nail in the coffin for me. Yeah, I lost a bunch of money, but I was 5 years out of college, right? I still had time if I wanted to continue to play that game. But as I looked at all the sacrifice I was making to earn more money so I could save a little bit more money, thinking that the market would do its thing, about a month after I lost all that money, I got a call from my wife. And I live in Indianapolis. At the time, my family lived in Texas. And my oldest son, who was 4 at the time, he was born with a heart defect. We've been monitoring it as he went, and I'm an internal optimist. I thought, of course, it's gonna be good. And my wife called me up and she said, you know what, Doug needs an emergency open heart surgery.
Oh, God.
And I got on a plane and I flew back home. And man, honestly, like that's where it all came to a head for me. Yeah, I lost a bunch of money, but in the pursuit of money, I sucked.
What did it cost
I was
you?
a horrible husband. I didn't live in the same state as my family. I'm on the verge of losing my son, and I'm a horrible father.
Yeah.
And I realized I couldn't trade the next 35, 40, 50 years of my life and then try to come back and pick up the pieces. I had to find a way to build wealth and live wealthy at the same time. And in the consumer, or you called it the contributor, in the contributor game, I couldn't win that game in a short period of time. I couldn't afford that.
Yeah.
And so that's what opened my eyes up to not trying to do it a little bit better, because I believe no matter how you play an average game, you're gonna get an average result. An average plus one is still losing the game.
Yeah.
So I started seeking mentors and guides and whatever I could do, whatever I could find to show me an alternate route. And the first thing that I found, the first thing that opened up my eyes in the game of investing specifically, was I was measuring my scorecard. I was measuring my success off of net worth, a pile of money in a 401k that one day would do something for me. Net worth doesn't matter, right? I wanted cash flow. I wanted assets that produced income for me, independent of me trading my time for that income. And so once I started shifting my measurement of what a good investment was, man, a whole new world opened up, right? Rather than trying to have a big pile of money, I wanted assets that acted like ATMs and just started kicking off cash flow to me. And I thought, look, if I can create $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 a month in cash flow, well, then I can just pair it up with my bills. If my car payment's $500 and I've got $500 of cash flow, then that asset's paying for that car. And that's what started me down the game of buying real estate, really focusing on cash flow.
Yeah, it's amazing, because I'm gonna go back for a second on the story of your son, because what happens is, in an unfortunate way, but a silver lining in it, is you got to experience the end of a road of, say, you being 70 and having that conversation. Maybe it wasn't a heart surgery at the time, but it was just your end of the road is there, and you look back after 50 years of trying to do this and you realize, dude, I missed a lot of cool stuff.
Totally.
I missed a lot of stuff that I shouldn't have missed. And for what? For the possibility that it could maybe work out financially one day, that you could have enough money that you could die in peace. Is that what we're aiming for?
Man.
To be able to die in peace and not owe a freaking mortgage on a house? Like, what are we freaking doing in this game of life and money?
Yeah.
It's insane of how it's set up. And the silver lining was you saw that, a taste of that at age 20, whatever it was, 27, 28 years old, and realized, bro, I'm chasing the wrong thing here.
Chasing it. And man, I'll tell you, since then, like, I started this whole thing for me. I was the one in pain. I was the one stuck. But over the course of the last several years, I've met with thousands of people. And that's the thing that I hear more than anything is, man, I wish I would have heard this 20 years ago, 30 years ago, because look at all the things I've sacrificed, all the things I've lost in the pursuit of this thing that now I realize is not ever going to work for me.
Yep.
So, man, I totally agree with that. You know, it's about, you know, we get one shot at this. We get one shot at this life.
One shot,
I mean,
man.
I came in this morning and your assistant, she had to go to a funeral, right?
Yep.
That was unexpected. That was unexpected. And I don't know when my time is up, but I know I want to play my life as hard and as fast and as good as I can. So if I have to go tomorrow, I've lived the best possible life I can. Because I don't know if 65 is my reality. I don't know.
That's just an idea, a number that we've put in our head of this is where I'm headed with this idea of goal. And so now I have to go work X amount of hours and set aside X amount of money. And hopefully, it's one of the things that I agree and disagree with the Dave Ramsey approach into that whole world. It's like, and again, Dave Ramsey approach obviously works for a lot of people. That's why I don't want to bash it, because there has been success come from it. I don't agree necessarily with the philosophy of how it works for, I'm gonna say, in my world, if your world is like my world, like I don't agree with that philosophy of it. And one reason I struggle with it is because what you're trying to do is you're trying to tell a person who's already paycheck by paycheck, who already isn't spending time with their family, who already isn't spending time with their children, who already isn't enjoying experiences of life that they want to do, not in a selfish way, but in a positive way with their family, like to provide stuff for them. You're telling that person who's already not really doing that to now go do less of it. Hey, you're paycheck by paycheck. I need you to be below paycheck by paycheck. And that's like, dude, what are you freaking, if this world is all about money, dude, I would rather fly and take a one-way ticket to Hawaii, live on the beach as a homeless person, but enjoy it with my family.
Enjoy it.
If I have to go do this is my alternative. And dude, I get pissed when I go down this road, because there's actually a fairly easier way than what it is, and it's an alternative investment side. Let's talk about that for a second. I gotta get off of this soapbox, bro.
I love the soapbox that you're on. I never get to talk to people at this level with money, because it's always surface level. But when you go deep, and man, we could spend time going through like how this whole system was created, why consumer debt was created, because like the 401k, that's all an illusion for one day, and now you're suffering today. So then banks and credit cards are created to keep you distracted today. Don't worry about how much this thing costs. Just figure out, can you afford the payments? Bro,
I have done research from decades of money is what I call it. And I can go from the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s. And what happens is, as contributors or consumers, or you want to call it, every decade, we have to give something up to be able to keep up with our lifestyle. Okay, now our lifestyle is already not great. And I say not great, I'm using it as a middle-class America generalized concept there. And it's already not like we're going on all this crazy adventures and living life to the fullest. It's already just like a blat right there. But to keep up with that, we constantly have to give something else up. That's why you can see, if you go back and study the history of money, you can see there's a reason when one person working a job down at the factory used to be able to buy a house, buy a car, and pay their bills. But eventually that went away. And then it took two incomes. And the husband and wife both had to go work to be able to keep up with that, not increase their lifestyle.
Just to keep up.
It would have been different if we said, okay, hey, my partner's gonna go to work and we're gonna be able to save their entire paycheck aside. Okay, hey, now we can have a conversation about compound interest and getting to your end goal in maybe 10 years or 12 years if this was the case. That wasn't the case. It was, I gotta go work, my partner has to go work now so that we can just pay our bills. And then you go the next decade, eventually, one of the things that went away was savings accounts. It used to be a big deal to have a savings account. Like savings account were a big deal.
The savings rate today for America is like 2%. But if you look at the debts, I mean, the debt has gone astronomical because that's the next phase now. Hey, people aren't saving, they can't keep up with it, let's give them payments.
So you went from savings accounts, then they had to sacrifice savings accounts, they're no longer there. Then it went into the credit card industry. And it went into, okay, well, you both got to work to keep up with your lifestyle. You cannot save any money anymore. But then the next decade is like, well, inflation is just keeps going up. So the only way to keep up with this is let me loan you more money. And then credit cards were created, extended home mortgages of now 30 years, so you could make the payment smaller in it. Dude, cars right now, like when I was young growing up, the most you could have on a car payment was 4 years. Like every car dealership was 4 years. They were promoting 36 month, but you get a 48 month. Then I remember it went to 5 years.
Yeah, that was 8 years. I've seen 10
8
years.
years,
Yeah.
10 years on a car loan,
crazy.
dude. It's like 8 years to pay this car off. Like it used to be a mortgage was 10 years for a house. Now cars are 10 years.
Well, and that's the crazy part too. And this is where I think there's a small glimmer of hope for Dave Ramsey. If I could say anything about Dave Ramsey, like that debt cycle, that consumer cycle, that making decisions not on how much does it cost, both in money and time and energy and all the things. But people don't make decisions on that anymore. They make it, can I afford the payments?
Can I afford the payment right now?
Yeah.
You go into a car dealership, they're not asking you on how much does it cost, does the truck cost? Well, it's $110,000 for this truck. They're not asking you that. No. What they're asking you is, what's your monthly budget for this?
What does your payment need to be?
What does your payment need to be at right now to make this happen?
Yep.
And then once they can establish what your payment need to be, they can extend the years of it.
Yeah.
They can put the interest rate, they can put the yield spread of it, just to make sure that they can just get your payment. Because if they make you think about $88,000 for a car, or they make you think about
$150 a month,
$180 for a car payment. It's like, oh, okay, I can afford $180 a month for that. In the process of it, so I could go through the decades of money, and every decade goes by, we lose another thing, not to grow, but to maintain where we're at.
Yep.
And the biggest tax that ever existed in this country has been inflation, dude.
Yes.
There is no bigger tax in this country. I should start a political show, bro.
No doubt.
I'm gonna have to start just a political show.
Look who we get all this modeling from. I mean, go look at the national debt and the unfunded liabilities. That's who's leading this mantra of, hey, we're a consumer nation.
So what do you think is gonna happen when the average American, me, you, everybody else, when they see the government passing a $3.5 trillion?
I can't even comprehend those numbers.
Dude, that's what I don't think people understand. You don't. Have you ever stopped and thought about $1 trillion?
Yeah. I mean, if you stack that, it can go all the way to the moon.
Dude, like you start breaking it down. Like you took an average person and said, what would $1 million do for you? And they're like, oh my God, it would revolutionize my life. Okay, what if I gave you 10 of them?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, what if I gave you 100 million? You start just keep going.
Yeah.
It was like,
I don't even know what to do with that. Yeah.
100 billion. It's like, Amazon, Jeff Bezos doesn't have it. Nobody has it. $1 trillion. It's like, dude, this is
mind-boggling.
This is mind-boggling. Yeah. But the point is, like you said, to your point, when you see the leaders live this way, well, what do you think all the Americans are going to do? It's the same process of a child and a parent.
Yep.
If you grow up in a home and you grow up in a home that's a very abusive home, there's a very good chance that you will end up down that same path. It's just the nature of how things develop.
Well, that's just what we talked about with 401ks. Like, I didn't know any better, but my parents did it, so maybe that's the way I should do it, right?
Gosh, dude. So when the government does it, what do you think the humans are going to do around it? They're going to do the exact same thing, and now consumer debt becomes no big deal because it's like, hey, let's just keep running it up. Something's going to crash sooner or later. It's like, to me, it's almost like where we live right now.
Yeah.
It's like people are like, I don't know how this is going to work out because there's just so much debt happening in there, but I'll just keep, maybe when you crash, I'll crash, so it's all good. Like, dude, there's some crazy stuff right now.
But on the flip side of that, there is crazy stuff, and I think many entrepreneurs, many people are just kind of hunkering down, waiting. Yeah. They're trying to bide their time and see what's going to happen. But man, chaos creates opportunity. There's so much opportunity. I mean, we were just talking about a small sliver of that. And so if you can open your eyes to abundance, to be a producer, to find that opportunity and take advantage of it, I think right now is probably the greatest wealth transfer that will ever take place. And it's happening right now, and most people are blind to see it.
Yeah, it actually has started about a year ago. Yeah. My advice to you, if you're not in it, dude, you gotta jump in fast. You gotta get in fast, yes. You gotta jump in fast because we're seeing a wealth transfer that we have never seen the likes of before happening in front of your freaking eyes. Is happening. Okay, again, alternative investment, my God, get there for me. When you guys talk about alternative investments, explain what that means to you at your company, the Cash Flow Tactics.
Yeah, so here's the reality. We have this strategy, and for us, it's not about the investments, it's about a strategy to help you get what you want. And I believe anyone that follows this strategy can be financially free in 10 years or less. And we say this very intentionally. It's not financial freedom, or it's not retirement, it's financial freedom. Because retirement is this deferred dream, not really knowing I'm gonna wait for one day. Financial freedom is where you make decisions about your life with money not being the primary driver. driver. And maybe that decision is you start a business, maybe you write a book, maybe you do spend more time with your family and you travel more, that's fine. But freedom is about being free, right? And money is not the constraint. So anyway, one of the pieces in this strategy is we call it the 4 pillars.
Okay.
And inside of every investment in the entire world, it doesn't matter what it is, there are potentially 4 ways that you can make money. It's just a matter of whether or not you understand which game you're playing, right?
Okay.
So you can make money in investing through appreciation. You buy something at one price and it goes up at a higher price and you sell it at a higher price.
Okay.
But no one controls appreciation, right? I don't control appreciation. It's just based on public opinion. But you can also make money in investing through cash flow. And those 2 returns, they're not correlated. I can cash flow and have it go up in value at the same time. You can make money in investing through taxes. Most people think a tax benefit is a tax deferral. You're just shifting a ticking time bomb to the very thing you're saving for. And you can make money in investing through leverage. So appreciation, cash flow, tax deductions, and leverage.
So you're saying these are your 4 pillars of how you guys look at an investment.
Yeah.
Of investment being good, bad, ugly, whatever it may be. These are the 4 kind of pillars you guys have, which are appreciation, cash flow, taxes, and leverage are the 4 pillars you guys talk about. Okay.
And every investment, you can look at every investment from Bitcoin to real estate. Every investment has all 4. It just matters which side you're playing on.
Okay.
So if I'm going to go buy a piece of real estate, I'm going to buy it, I'm going to own it myself, I can have an asset that goes up in value. If I've bought it right, it will generate a positive stream of income for me, so it's cash flow and appreciation.
Okay.
I get massive tax deductions and benefits. I mean, the IRS code is written to tell you where to save taxes. It's really a treasure map, a playbook that you know better than anyone, right?
I'm good at that one.
You're really good at that one. And then leverage, right? I can say, hey, that house over there is valued at $100,000. But I don't have to have $100,000 to own and control it, right? I can leverage and put a small amount of money in, or in some cases, no money in. But now I get four pillars, four rates of return. And here's the crazy part, right? I thought real estate was risky. That was what the subtle lie that I've been told. And if I wanted to do real estate, well, there's a stock market REIT for that, and I can just go participate that way. But if I own real estate, I can actually get a higher return and actually decrease my risk at the same time because of those 4 pillars. Maybe the housing market crashes, right? Maybe I lose value on book. My real estate went from $100,000 to $80,000, but I'm still cash flowing. I still have tax deductions and I still have leverage. I'm still earning a return in 3 ways. And the crazy part about it, every investment has all 4 pillars, but most people only play by one. It's just appreciation. That's the whole Wall Street world.
Yeah.
But there's a business owner on the other side who owns all 4 pillars. Like if I want to go buy a stock in Amazon, right? I get to buy stock in Amazon and I get the appreciation pillar. But what does Jeff Bezos get?
Cash flow. Taxes. Appreciation of his company.
And massive leverage.
Leverage, because he can get any money he wants from anybody he wants.
He's got all 4 pillars, right? So that's the game. And so we just try to help people see the game of investing differently rather than speculating, because that's all 401ks and stock market stuff is. You have to truly be an investor. And to be an investor, you have to take an element of control. You have to rise up. You have to improve your mindsets, understand the game of money, what money actually is, and then apply those mindsets in a tactical way to get outcomes that you're looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I love the rise up that you mentioned there, because if you want to play any part of the game of money, it will take you without question, in your terminology, to rise up.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
No.
I'm telling you, there's zero way around it.
Totally.
It will involve you personally on an individual basis level rising up to the challenge.
And man,
so I guarantee it has to happen.
It's hard. Like there's no, and anyone that tries to pitch it as a fast and easy solution, you press a button, like it's hard to rise up.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, everything we want, like the dreams that we have, the ambitions that we have, it's going to require us to become a different person. Like the version of Ryan that has to be created in order for me to live free was radically different than the version of Ryan that I was after I lost all that money in 2008. I had to develop new mindsets. I had to translate those mindsets into skill sets. I had to make a brand new network of connections to see a new possibility. And man, there were many mistakes that I made along the way, but every mistake that I made along the way was now a lesson that helped me get better, get me closer to that outcome. And so that's, long story short, I believe we're kind of Tony Robbins for money. That's kind of what we do, is we help people see a different story, like tell themselves a different story, see a different world, and play the game of money by a different set of rules.
Yeah. If they want more information about your four pillars there, Where's the best place for them to go?
I mean, there's two things. We're Cash Flow Tactics, so you can just go to our website. We show all the things that we do there.
That's just cashflowtactics.com.
Yeah. Okay. We do a ton of stuff on Facebook until you release your app, but a ton of things on Facebook. And so a lot of people can go there. They can take our 5-day challenge, all that kind of stuff.
You guys have all kinds of activities, things for them to read,
tons of stuff,
watch, et cetera.
Podcasts, videos, interviews. The best thing is the 5-day challenge. Over 5 days, we show you the exact thing I was going through, that you can never save your way to financial freedom. Yeah. The very first thing I did, man, when I read Robert Kiyosaki, I was flying back and forth to see my family, right? And I read Robert Kiyosaki, the very first thing he said in there are savers or losers.
Yeah.
And I had to go through like the 5 stages of grief.
Offensive.
I was offended. Yeah. I was like, this guy's crazy. So once I went through the 5 stages of grief and I got to acceptance, I understood what Robert Kiyosaki was talking about. The game of saving my way, putting a little bit of money in and hoping for a high enough rate of return for one day, that's mathematically impossible. It just does not work. Yep. And so when he says savers or losers, it's not that you're an idiot, it's that you're playing a game that you mathematically cannot win.
At the end of the game, there's a winner and there's a loser.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you're going to come on the loser side of it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you personally are a loser. It just means the track that you're on in the game of money, like in any game, there's winners and losers, which I understand the weird world that we are creating now of there are no losers in sports. The hell they aren't. There's a team that won and there's a team that lost.
Yep.
That's a whole other reason of why we're in this freaking predicament that we're in, is because there's people that don't understand how to lose, because as a 12-year-old, their mom didn't want them to cry over losing. I can't tell you how many times I cried in sports over losing.
Totally.
But when I lost, it's what made me go get better.
100%.
It's what made me go to the batting cages.
100%.
It's what made me go to the weight room, because I was like, dude, whatever that dude that struck me, it ain't happening again. I'm gonna go figure out another way to go attack it. And when you don't provide that for people, that opportunity to push through at a young age, when truthfully, that loss was nothing.
Yeah.
It was nothing as far as like, it didn't cost me money, it didn't cost me self-esteem, it didn't cost me anything.
No.
But you took the experience of my body mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically developing, when you took that away from me. And now you have it in money. Now it's like the world that we live in is like, everybody just thinks they should have money because the next guy has money. So let's have AOC wear a dress called Tax the Rich, while at a gala that cost $35,000 a plate to be at, while someone was carrying the back of her dress around while she was getting in a limousine. You want to wear tax? What are you? You're literally in the exact moment of what you're saying.
Yeah.
I love, there's this Kevin Leary, we're business partners with him. He does his TikTok, and I don't know if you've seen this or not, it is purely genius, dude. He was talking about how he disagrees with AOC and her tax policies and socialism and so forth, and he brought up, he held up this t-shirt and he said, I believe in it so much, she has a t-shirt called Tax the Rich. He's like, I just bought whatever it was, like 1,000 t-shirts off of her website. And he holds one up, Tax the Rich. He had one in his hand, and he's like, "I find it ironic that inside of her t-shirt business, she has a 82% profit margin on her t-shirts of what she was selling them for, whatever it is, $29." And he's like, so inside of every wannabe socialist, there is a actual true capitalist inside of you.
Yep.
Because if it was really about socialism, if it costs you $8 to make, why don't you sell it for $8 then?
Yeah.
And let everybody have it for what it costs. No, you guys sell for $39 because you have to have an 82% markup on it. So you truthfully, what you really are is a capitalist.
Yeah.
That's what you really are.
Totally.
But that's a whole other topic.
Dude, I love that.
That I can get onto the whole concept of tax. That just happened recently, so it just is on my mind. But everything that you have said is what has made up my life. It is strictly I rising up to the challenge, because it is an individual thing you're gonna have to go do. Unfortunately, it's not this thing where someone can go do it for you. No, you have to take control. You mentioned earlier, to be successful in the game of money, you have to have personal accountability and personal control over it.
You have to have skin in the game. You have to feel your losses.
Because in the wealthy, again, I'm surrounded by people that are wealthy in the world that I live in, and those people that are wealthy, if I sat down and said, do you control your money or is someone else controlling it? 100%, they all will say, no, we control it.
Dude, and that right there, like that's the truth right there. Like the wealthy,
exact opposite.
Go back to what
you said earlier.
I love it.
Exact opposite. In the 401k model, you have no control.
No control.
You give over, you surrender control and pray that someone else can make decisions based off of what may work out for you one day in the future, while you forego all the stuff you really want in life. The exact opposite, the wealthy control their money, they have personal accountability to their money, and they live a life that they truly want to live right now.
Well, and here's the part that over the years now that I've had an opportunity to talk to so many people, like they've followed the rules. They've done everything right. They've worked really hard. They're not looking for handouts, many of them, right?
Of course, yeah, I agree.
They're just playing by rules that do not serve them. Outdated set of rules, however those rules came about, whether it was insidious, whether it was a lie, whether it was just done with good intentions that's gone bad, whatever it is, like the whole simple thing is flip the script, right? Give someone a new set of rules that allows them to win. Give them a scorecard, not based on a big pile of money, net worth one day, but cash flow today. Put them in a position where they understand the principles, the pillars, and say, give them a game plan and say, look, out of all the things you could do, here's the one thing you should. This is where you start, and just target after target after target, incrementally improve the status of your life.
Here's the last point I make on this topic, because we go forever on it, is I used to tell everybody, because you made me think about it, you talk about with the wrong set of rules. I used to tell people, I used to give them an illustration. I said, if you were playing a baseball game, because money is a game. So I said, let's just get off of money for a second, just understand it's a game. Let's now just call it a baseball game, and we're gonna play this baseball game. I said, now you know the rules of baseball and how it works and so forth. But I said, how successful would you be if you showed up to the baseball game, but you and only you decided to show up in a full hockey uniform with ice skates and a hockey stick and a helmet and big shoulder pads and no teeth, and you had to get in the batter's box and play baseball.
Yeah,
you had to go out in left field and chase down fly balls that were hit to you
in your
ice skates on a field. Now, how successful would you be at that game? And everybody laughs and they think, well, you would never win at it. Okay, that's my point. And in a game of money, money is a game. You are playing the game. Unfortunately, you have the wrong rule book.
Yeah,
you have the wrong rule book. And if you can, I always tell people, you're already, that group that you're talking about, you're already working hard enough.
Yeah.
I'm not actually trying to get you to work harder.
No,
I'm
smarter,
not.
that's all.
I'm just trying to get you to play the right rule book and apply the same work ethic, the same character, the same drive you have over here, and then watch the different outcome. But unfortunately, you were given the wrong rule book.
Yeah.
When it comes to money.
That's honestly, that's at the core of our company, to tell you the truth. Like, I mean, the first couple years I applied it in my life, one step forward, a couple steps back, but I found some things that worked. Yeah. And more than anything, I found people that were playing by the rules that I needed to play by. And here's the powerful thing about a network, right? I was doing everything I could to improve my mindsets, reading books, listening to podcasts. I was doing everything I could to take those mindsets and apply them in the field. But I kept bumping up against my own lack of understanding because I didn't know what the next step was, and my own limited belief in myself.
Yep.
The thing that radically changed my life is when I started connecting with mentors, people that had done exactly what I wanted to do, and I realized, holy cow, those people are normal people. They're just like me.
Yeah.
They're just playing a different game.
That's it, dude.
Right? And my confidence then skyrocketed because I realized if he can do it, if she can do it, I can do it.
Yep.
And that's how it started for me, man. And in the beginning, it was hard, but once I started figuring out this framework of what actually worked, man, wins came easily and they compounded. And I knew systematically how to put $1 in and turn it into an outcome that I wanted.
Yep.
And then that was the cool part, is I never envisioned myself to be a teacher or anything like that, or lead people to do the same thing. But man, I found myself so liberated, and so many people coming back and asking me questions, how did you do it? And I would just say, hey, for your situation, if I were you, I would do it this way. For your situation, if I were you, I would do it this way. And that's ultimately what started Cashflow Tactics, is just building a game plan based on a principle-based approach and a rule book that actually worked to helping people build and live a life that matters to them.
That's it, dude. Unfortunately, I don't want to say this, but it really is that simple.
Yeah.
To the people listening, it's like, it really is that simple. I'm not saying it's easy and not hard. That's not what I'm saying. It's hard what you're doing now on the 401k. It's hard on that side. I'm not saying it's easy on this side. I'm just saying it actually is that simple of the way you're describing it. And sometimes people are like, oh, it's something else. It's like, no, it's just that.
Yeah.
Not easy, but it's no harder than what you're doing now. That's what I say. Always give me the same drive, give me the same character, give me the same work ethic you have, and apply it over here. Ryan from Cashflow Tactics. Again, you guys can check him out at cashflowtactics.com. If you want more information about his 4 pillars or his alternative investments that you guys help people with, make sure you check him out there. What's your Instagram as well while I got you here?
The Ryan D. Lee or Cashflow Tactics.
Either one of them, Cashflow Tactics, or if personal one is the Ryan D, the initial D.
D, yeah.
Lee. So I'm going to ask Ryan from Cashflow Tactics here what his money is answer is, and then Ryan, I'll have you sign it right here, and then me and you will discuss the answer here for you. I'll give you the Sharpie.
My man.
Right here.
So first off, I'm going to say, dude, just what an amazing experience it's been coming in here and just understanding how much thought you take of the process, a journey that someone goes through. I mean, this experience has been fantastic. But for me,
thank you, man.
Money is a tool. That's all it is. It's a tool to generate an outcome. And the way I talk about it is you have to take control, right?
Yep.
Rise up so that you can live free. So for me, it's all about rising up and living free. And I did mention I dropped out of high school, which meant I never learned how to really write. So that's a scribble. I know what it says. No one else is going to know what it says.
So here we go. Ryan Lee from cashflowtactics.com. Ryan says, money is rise up, live free, from Ryan D. Lee. Ryan, break it down a little bit more for me. When you say money is about rising up and living free, define it a little bit more. What do you mean by that?
Well, you mentioned this a little bit earlier. I think so many people are held back by fear. They're held back by limiting beliefs. And so for me, one of the greatest things that happened to me was the hardest thing, right? I realized I might lose everything I cared about. I was on the verge of losing my marriage. I was definitely on the verge of losing my son. And I had to go back to the beginning. I remembered when I was a young man. I remembered having dreams. That's what pulled me out of the gutter from a high school dropout and said, well, I'm going to make something out of my life because I have a dream. Right? And somewhere along the line, I stopped dreaming. Somewhere along the line, I deferred those dreams to 65.
Yeah.
And I remember for the couple weeks while I was in the hospital with my son, which by the way, he's old. He's 15 years old now. He's taller than me. He's stronger than me. He's smarter than me. I'm so grateful for that.
He's definitely better looking.
He's definitely better looking than me, for sure. But I had to go back and dream again. And I had to ask myself, what kind of father do I want to be, not when I'm 65, but right now?
Right now.
What kind of husband do I want to be, not one day, but right now?
Money is not in the future, bro.
Man,
money is right now.
That was such a powerful thing for me because, again, it wasn't about money. And we can go into all the scripts and the mindsets that we have around money and maybe what I thought about it at the time. But I realized what I wanted required money.
Yep.
And in order to get what I wanted, I better become a steward over money. I better stop trading my time hoping for one day and take control right now. So ultimately, that's what it meant to rise up. It was first and foremost attaching money to an outcome that was relevant and meaningful for me today.
Mm-hmm. Uniquely, we talked about my office earlier about kind of understanding how a sales process works of problem and product is normally. But whenever you can tie the product or the solution into not the problem, but the actual pain, everything will change.
Yeah.
Everything will change. And obviously you didn't know at the time, but that's literally what was happening inside of your own world is all of a sudden money, you had a problem, which was a money problem.
Yeah.
And you were trying to tie a product, which was working around the nation, traveling, doing all this stuff for as a W-2, trying to fix a problem. But all of a sudden when that pain hit, and it's like, okay, then you deep dive on the pain of what kind of father do I want to be? What kind of husband do I want to be? What kind of dad do I want to be? Pain was created, and through the pain, you found a solution or a product that would solve that pain, not the problem. And actually what happened was the problem went away.
100%.
The problem went away.
Yeah.
It was the pain that drove anybody to actually finding the product or solution to solving that problem they have, because that problem is tied to a pain. Again, it goes back to, it's so funny we talked about it this morning. Now you actually see it like in real life of what we were talking about. Now imagine taking every customer that comes, that I deal with, I don't ever deal with a problem. I'm gonna talk about the pain.
Yeah.
Because if I can talk about the pain with you, then we can get to where we can actually find a solution. And I'm not saying it's my solution, I'm just saying a solution to the pain.
Well,
right?
Man, I think one of the, and you do it so masterfully, inside of our game plans when we work with someone one-on-one, because we have education and courses and all those things, but at the end of the day, we have to take the principles and bring it to an individual. And everyone thinks they're gonna come in and we're gonna talk about money, right? And I think that's what the game plan is. And we do talk about money and we talk about the strategy on the back end, but the very first thing we talk about, and we will not move on until we get clear on this, is what do they want? Yeah. And you have to go pretty deep on that because we lose the ability to actually determine what we want. I mean, we're so focused on what we don't want that we forgot what the heck what it is we do want. And so we ask them,
like you said, you defer your dreams and you actually forget about them.
We ask them, what do they want and why does it matter? Mentally and emotionally. And then here's the most powerful question for any of us, for me, for you, for anyone listening. The only thing that stands in the way of what do you want and why does it matter and where you are today is the third question. Well, who must you become? Mm-hmm. Who do you have to become to make what you want a reality for you?
Again, it goes back to accountability.
Yeah.
It's not, when you ask the question, I knew the answer to it. I didn't know you were going to phrase it that way, but it's the same thing. It's like the only thing that stands between those two things is only one thing, that's you. Yeah. And you're saying in a way, well, who do I need to become? Because it's not the current you. Yeah. It's not the current version of you. It's the future you, and who do I got to come to get that right there. But my point, it goes back to, personal accountability.
Yeah.
Which is why you have to rise up and take control over it, because it literally is dependent upon you. I love it, dude. Great answer. Absolutely great answer. Rise up and live free. Again, Ryan Lee from Cash Flow Tactics, man. I appreciate you coming out. I'm sure we'll have you back out here. If not for the show, probably just for me and you to jam all day long about money, because I got 1,000 other things I want to talk to you about on money. But I definitely appreciate you coming for the show and sharing your knowledge and wisdom into it. And it's definitely a topic that I hope you can tell. I hope my viewers can tell that I am passionate.
No doubt.
Passionate about.
Man, we spent 2 hours before
Passionate.
this show, and man, you melted my face with some of the things that you were talking about.
Passionate about. Like, I don't just like have a show about it. No, like I deep dive. Yeah. I don't always get a show on the show, but sometimes in my office, there's some deep dives that I'll go in there. So again, I absolutely appreciate it. You guys watching the Money Is Show. I appreciate you watching the Money Is Show this week with Ryan Lee from Cash Flow Tactics. We'll see you next week with another show of the Money Is Show.